Christmas. Hope you guys have an awesome New Year too. It'll be 2024 by the time you guys see this video, so let's rock in 2024. I know I'm super excited. My team is rolling in the right direction. Got a lot of good things going. Yeah, you got a lot of people coming on too, man. So it's gonna be a good year. I'm really excited about it. But we just wanted to kind of touch on our holiday to kind of tell you guys what we've had going on. So I know myself, we had family events with the in-laws and then my parents. We had an awesome Christmas. I got a lot of gifts. Got to give a lot of gifts. I like to give gifts. I don't like to. You like to get gifts? I like to give gifts.
I like to give.
I like to give gifts. I always feel like very guilty when I receive a gift. But I think it is awesome to have people in my life that want to give me gifts. That is truly amazing. If you guys did give me a gift, don't think I'm like saying anything bad. I'm just really awkward with getting gifts because I'm like, oh man, and my mind is just like instantly like, oh man, you spent this much money on me.
Right.
I'm instantly like tallying it up, like, oh man, I feel so guilty. So, but had an awesome Christmas. Nate actually got to come over to my house and spend some time with us.
We had some fun over there.
Heck yeah, man, we were awesome. Just awesome to have you, man. It was a good experience. And like I said, I'm just glad to have people in my circle that just want to be around us. So
yeah, it was greatly appreciated.
Yeah, it's just truly awesome, man. So we just wanted to give you guys some tips. We know New Year's resolutioners are out there, and we just kind of wanted to help you guys lay a little bit of framework for strength training. We were just kind of talking a little bit off air, and Nate had some really good points. So we're just going to kind of touch on just getting a good strength training program set up if you don't really know what you're doing. Kind of like not overdoing it in the beginning. Don't like overwhelm and stress yourself out. Tips on eating a little bit, just to kind of touch on things that we've already talked about, but is ultimately going to be the downfall. Like if you're not eating right, you're not really going to see much progress. Supplement stacks, supplements that we sell here in-house, not to shamelessly plug, but buy them from us. And just like some overall advice on how to get going. So I'm gonna let Nate touch on the ideas that we had with strength training, just kind of throwing you guys out there again, just like some framework to help you guys build something. So
yeah, absolutely. So a lot of these New Year's resolutions coming in, a lot of you that are complete beginners coming in fresh. Something that's really important, like Cody said, is not overdoing it. So you don't want to jump in and start out with the 15-20 rep or 15-20 set ranges, overkill your workout, overstimulate muscle, too sore, and then also you don't want to get into these advanced techniques right away. You want to start out slower, progression-wise. A lot of it's going to be compound movements for beginners, so we're going to do a lot of barbell work, back squats, get good hip flexion, make sure we have proper form, and we're not overloading and letting ego take over either. The bench press, the barbell rows, all these are going to work on strengthening the core, hip flexors. Everything's going to work the whole foundation of the framework instead of jumping in on isolation movements like the seated rows. So you're taking out your core, you're taking out a lot of the flexion, and you're not building that strength. So you might get stronger on your rows, but you neglected all the other muscles that are that foundation framework. So I'm always going to start someone out with progressively compound movements, and then as they progressively build their strength, recovery is starting to get better because you're going to get sore right off the bat just doing a new movement. So there's no need to jump into an advanced technique and think it's going to be better starting out advanced. You want to build the foundation, and then progressively add a couple sets a week. So you might start out with 5, 6, 7 sets, and then next week we'll add another one if recovery was there. Next week maybe we'll add 2. But you want to progressively build that ladder instead of jumping in gung-ho and drowning.
Yeah, and just to touch on something he said, he means working sets, right? So we always want to have those warm-up sets, just to kind of like get used to the movement. So what he's touching on are working sets, so like sets that you run till failure or close to failure. We were actually talking about this today too. I always, when I give a program, I recommend staying shy of failure the first couple weeks to really work on skill acquisition, especially if you're like a really low-level beginner. We don't want to go in there and just try to go balls to the wall and hurt something. Anytime you're doing a new movement, and no matter what the movement is, your risk for injury is going to be high. right? Because we don't know what we're doing. You might not be exactly like super coordinated. So until you actually get used to your body and the way the movement works, obviously risk of injury is going to be a lot higher. So I always recommend going pretty light and kind of figuring out where your numbers need to be. So that way next week you can kind of push that boundary, right? So like we'll just use bench press for an example. If we're doing bench press and we're shooting for a set of 10 and you put 135 on and it's way too heavy and you only get 6 reps, and there were 6 like shitty reps, like you essentially just wasted your time, you know. So I tell people to kind of back that load down, find something that you can hit 10 pretty easy on, maintaining form and keeping everything, you know, good. So that way next week, you know, okay, well, I did 100 pounds for 10 easy reps. I know I could probably do 110 for 10 pretty like easy, but a little bit harder than last week reps, right? And we just kind of slowly build that up and up. That's why I preach logbook to all my people. You know, I'm a big advocate for progressive overload. I know and I've worked with some coaches out there that want to, you know, change training program every 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. You know, I really think it can be beneficial in the sense of keeping somebody like entertained, right? But there's no way to actually collect data and see where we're progressing, right? So if we have a movement that's changing every 4 weeks, it's really hard for you to build that strength if you're only hitting it 1 time a week, right? So you would only hit bench press 4 times a week. So by the time you build up the skill acquisition and then you hit week 3 and week 4 where you push the boundary, then you get a new training program and it's just kind of like starting all over, right? It's too soon to rinse and repeat. Bodybuilding is very rinse and repeat, or fitness in general. You know, we're definitely speaking to more beginners. Everything is rinse and repeat, and it can be very boring, it can be very repetitive, but it's done right. That's how it's done right.
I like 8-week minimum.
Yeah.
For a beginner to stick to the compounds.
I was talking about this on a podcast recently. I think 12 weeks is good, just because that's a good span of time for us to collect enough numbers and then switch if needed. But if I have more of an advanced athlete, I'll do a little bit longer if we're in a prep. But every 12 weeks, I will assess how the training program is going. Do we have any injuries? Do we have any movements that we need to remove? Kind of like what we were talking about earlier, right? So I'm a big believer in sticking to the meat and potatoes, right? So any movement that we feel like we're either not enjoying, not getting a connection with, so there's no stimulus and we're just not progressing at, then we're just wasting our time.
Exactly.
So just kick those movements out the door, right? Replace them with something different. Essentially rinse and repeat, but you're not changing out the entire framework of the program. You're just substituting in different movements to replace the ones that aren't working for us. So that way, ideally, we build a perfect training program for that person, you know. So it's kind of like you're trying to tailor it to the person more and more as time goes on, right? And then that's where you can kind of push the boundary a little bit more, because we know, using our example, right? So we build up to 135 pounds and we just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. By the end of the 12-week block, you know, you're doing 175 pounds for 10 reps. Now we know we're getting better, right? So you know, you're gonna have off days. You might not beat the logbook every single time, but I feel like it gives you a goal to shoot for, and it also shows you that you are progressing on paper as well, especially over a period of time. Like that's a good, you know, jump in numbers. So I mean, everything that we do, it's a science experiment, right? Like we were talking about. So if we don't have enough variables staying constant for a period of time, it's really hard to tell which variables need to be swapped out. And I think that's what a lot of, you know, people and even coaches do wrong. They like change things way too soon, or they go into the gym without a plan at all. They just go by feel. Like that's the most bullshit answer I've ever heard.
Right.
If you're just going into the gym and going off feel and just kind of doing whatever you want for the day, yeah. I mean, if I'm going to the gym and do whatever the fuck I want for the day, I'm gonna fucking, you know, like do a couple curls. All right, yeah, I'm gonna go play some Call of Duty. You know, like it's real easy to just sham out. You got to go in with a game plan. You know what I mean? Like, all right, I got to do this. Log them all next week or next time you hit that same workout. You're trying to beat those numbers.
Yeah, I can't stand the wing it method. I mean, that pisses me off more than anything.
Honestly, probably just get better off like just not doing anything, because I feel like you're just going in and half-assing everything. So you're essentially just wasting your time, money, and just effort. Yep. You know. So if you really like want to do better, that's going to be the best way to do it. And it can be very boring, it can be very repetitive, but I mean, if you look at a lot of the like top, like I guess programmers out there, people who are putting together like top-notch strength training programs, that's how it is, and it's just progressive overload over
Well, it's
time.
like we talked about, even Dorian Yates said himself,
Yep.
same workout, same program,
Yep.
20 years.
Yep.
I just wanted to get better with each movement, control it better, and then slowly add weight.
Yep.
He did the same workout 20 years.
Yeah, and you've been training with me now, so like you see kind of how I do it. I'll just kind of slowly increase load, keeping form the same,
Yep.
execution perfect, and then up. If my set wasn't absolutely perfect with it, then I'll stay there and try to make it perfect. And that's still in my book, it's still progressive overload, because like say you get 10 reps with the bench press, right? So we're using the same analogy here. So we're going or the same example. So we're using 135 pounds for 10, right? And say we get the 10, but the last two are pretty sloppy reps. You can bounce it off your chest, you're not controlling it, like. And then next week, you're like, oh shit, like you watch a video, you're like, these last two reps sucked. You hit another 10, and all 10 of them are just like perfect, absolutely like textbook reps. You know what I mean? Like that is still progressive overload. Even though you got the same, they were better. They were much better. Or say you do 10 and it was completely exhausting. It was still a good set. All reps were perfect. But the next week you do 10 again, but on that 10th rep you weren't as exhausted. It's still progressive overload. You didn't go up in weight, you didn't go up in reps. Your form was the same, but it was just a little bit easier. You're getting better.
Perfect example, you videotaped both of my hack splits. 6 plates, week 1. I was so out of breath by number 11. I had more in me, but I locked it up and I said, I'm done, I can't fucking breathe.
Yeah.
Next week,
Yep.
I not only controlled it on the descent better, it took probably an average of 30 seconds more doing that set,
Yep.
controlling it much longer, same weight,
Yep.
but I got an extra rep, and by the time I was done, I could still breathe,
Yep.
and I could function. I didn't want to puke.
Yeah, it was a prettier set
Yes.
for sure. So those are all things that we look for when we're assessing progressive overload, right? So that's just a good way to establish a baseline and build from there. If you guys don't have a coach doing it for you, just set up a program. Like Nate said, start with a certain amount of working sets, whether that's anywhere from 5 to 10 or whatever, and then just kind of build on that and find where you can recover enough to train the rest of the week, and it's recovered by the time you circle back around to hit that same body part, and find that healthy medium where you're sore and you feel like you got some work in, but you're recovered by the time it's time to train one more time. So that's the best way that you're going to go about it. There is such thing as overtraining. I hate people who say there's no such thing as overtraining. There is 100%. When we're training, we're breaking down muscle. When we're resting and recovering, that's whenever we're actually building it. So if you're not allowing your body to actually recover, then you're not building anything, right? Essentially, you're just in a loop where you're breaking muscle down and you're not allowing it to actually recover, so you're not really going to get any better. There's not going to be any adaptation to that, So I think people will try to do too much in the beginning, or like Nate said, they'll shift towards these advanced movements that we do because we've been training for a long time. We're trying to work on weak body parts. In the beginning, my whole body was weak, right? So I don't need all these extra like advanced movements. I just needed to actually lift something heavy, so.
And I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's like a sculpture. You start out with a blob and you start taking shape and you're building that foundation. And then for us, doing it all these years, now we're doing the detail and we're working on the pieces that are lagging, kind of filling them in with clay.
That, and we're also working around injuries because we're old.
True that.
You're not old. You don't have bad knees yet. I don't care what you say, your knees aren't bad. So you can do regular movements. And I think it's a lot of what builds that strength that transfers over to these more advanced movements. So,
and a lot of what I see for beginners, the frustration is, like we said, not throwing in too many working sets. So they'll overload it, and the soreness might dissipate. The recovery on the muscle aspect might be there.
Yeah.
But they also don't understand and they're not in tune with their bodies enough for the central nervous system
Yeah.
to recover as well.
Yep.
So you get into that fatigue, and then strength starts progressively going backwards, and you get frustrated. And I think that's where a lot of people say screw this, and that's when they quit and they give up because they feel like they're backpedaling, but they're also overstimulated the central nervous system. It's not just the muscle.
Yep. And they just end up basically fatigued all the time. So that's definitely great advice for setting up a workout program, especially in the beginning whenever you don't really know what you're doing. Just stick very basic stuff and just try to make it harder each week. Find that threshold, right? As far as eating goes, a lot of it is just getting in. Like, if I could give you any advice, especially advice that I wanted in my younger years, make sure you're getting in your protein, make sure you're getting in your water, and then like health supplements go a long way, even though most people think they don't. It's going to help the body function better. So obviously, the healthier you are, the better your body is functioning, the easier it's going to be to pack on lean muscle mass. It's just common sense, right? Self-explanatory. I think it's not, though, to younger people because they don't see the value in that until they get older, and then they start kind of doing things the wrong way,
Right.
and then they see how their body does not function well whenever it's unhealthy. So I think that's great, like basic nutrition info for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yes.
Definitely maximize on protein. Don't eat fast food. Pay attention to your digestion too. And then just health supplements in general. So
And that's a lot of people say diet. To me, it's a lifestyle instead of diet. But like Cody said, cutting out the fast food, really the biggest thing is going to be finding what sits with you. Like, yeah, it can be kind of boring eating repetitively and the same thing, but that's when you find out how you're digesting. That's when you get in tune with your body. You know how everything works, so you're not feeling like shit the next day for your workout because you went and had a cheeseburger and fries. And that boringness is what you figure out what digests well, what assimilates well, and what helps you recover well as well. So along with that, and like Cody said, the multivitamins, health supplements, not to get too technical and throw too much information, but the micronutrients go a long way with that, and the vitamin A, D, E, K, all fat soluble vitamins, you take that without taking in any healthy fats, just carbohydrates or protein, you're actually not digesting and absorbing those micronutrients properly. So a lot of that goes a long way too, timing your meals, your protein, your fats, and your carbohydrates with certain micronutrients.
Yep, that is very true. And I think in your younger years, you're not really worried about that. You're just trying to put in as much protein as you can.
Just taking it in, and they think I got it in, so I'm good now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the issues I see, and I have been seeing lately, is I get meal plans sent to me that people are following that are just completely eyeballed. I don't think that that's a smart way to be at all. You see how my plans are set up. It's very like OCD, numbers are everywhere. Like I know exactly how much is everywhere at any given time. And the whole point, and this is what I was telling you earlier that we were talking while we were training, everything we do is a science experiment, right? We try to establish a baseline of where we're at, and then we monitor results and what's happening, and we have our baseline, so that way we can adjust certain numbers to get us to where we want to be. If we don't have a baseline of anything, where do we go? You don't know where to go. Like if I give Nate a diet that's just put together and, he's not recovering well, and it's like, maybe he needs more protein, but I don't know how much protein he's eating. It's like, how do you know if you don't know? I've never understood that. I don't understand how coaches get away with this for so long, but they don't know the actual numbers, and it just blows my mind.
There's too much.
It's not me. It's not how I'm running my show. No. But I'm very like structured. Every single one of my clients, I know exactly how much they're eating, so that way I can go in and troubleshoot when we're having an issue. We're not progressing. We're not recovering. We're not sleeping well. Digestion's off. I know where their numbers are, so that way I can adjust things. And if you scroll down and read my notes, I have the calories listed. I have how much cardio we're doing. I have your average weight for the week. So you got to be on top of it. It's more science than what people, want to believe. It's not meathead science. It's a science experiment. So I think that there's a lot of old school people out there that lift heavy and eat protein. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we do, but there's a whole lot more to it,
Right.
you know.
That is a very minimal part.
I think it's there's a level of I guess their IQ is not able to get with the program that there's more to it. It's like that's just kind of where their thinking ends. You know, they know how to do it. They don't know how to think about it. They don't know how to fine tune it. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And really, if you really want to break it down, let's think about it. So, our workout today was what, 2 hours?
Yeah.
It's advanced workout. You know, most of your beginners are going to have an hour workout. So,
Yeah.
but we have a 2 hour workout, and then we're going to sleep for about 8 hours. So there's 10 hours. So your other 14 hours, over more than half of your day is outside of the gym and in bed. So that comes down to what are you doing? What are you putting in your body? What are you eating the other 14 hours of the day?
Every variable matters, and that's
Right.
what I'm saying. I just think it's just ridiculous that there's no baseline established by some coaches. Again, I think it's just like they don't understand it. You know, they know how to do it. They don't know how to think about it. Anything that you're going to be good at, you got to know how to think about it and fine tune it. You know, like what can we do to make this more effective and more efficient? You know, I mean, that's going to be the best way to do anything.
And
So-
that goes with the you know, these fad diets and these social media posts about drop 100 pounds now.
Yeah.
Like
It's a
there
lot
is
of
no
lies.
get
Yeah.
fix quick shit. Like
Yeah.
there, like Cody said, it's a science,
Yeah.
and we're fine tuning it and we're making adjustments along the way.
Yeah.
So you're not dropping drastic weight, you're not losing muscle, you're building lean mass along with burning fat slowly. That's the healthy way to do it. There's no quick fix, 100-pound weight loss.
Anything you can get fast, you can lose fast too.
Right.
Right. So I mean, it's like gambling, right? You can win 10 grand pretty quick, but you can also lose 20 grand really fucking fast.
Yes.
So if you lose a bunch of weight really fast, you can gain it back just as fast, if not, you know, more weight than what you originally had. So anybody who's telling you that, it's a huge red flag. Turn the other way.
Right.
Don't listen to them. There's a lot of fake stuff put out there on, especially Instagram. I see it all the time. Clients send me stuff, and I'm just like, this isn't true. Don't listen to this. You know, I have to literally debunk stuff on a daily basis. But I believe in helping people, not taking people's money. So not every person out there is like that, unfortunately. So yeah, I think just stick with the basics. Anything like that, obviously, red flag. And then we already touched on supplements a little bit, but I do want to give you guys a couple like specific things. What did you use in your younger years that you think is like you would recommend to somebody that is like trying to get into
The
it,
go-to
14, 15 years old?
Yeah. So I'm always going to recommend creatine,
Mhm.
good multivitamin, and I will say this: if you pick up a one a day, throw it out because your body can only absorb so much of the micronutrients at one time. So when you take a one a day, because it's convenient, you're pissing it all out. So you want to stagger out your vitamins a couple times a day, number one. So creatine, multivitamin, a good branch BCAA, amino acid for recovery, and I'm gonna always pick omegas because
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
omega. There's too many 6s and 9s in everybody's
Yeah.
diet, and it doesn't get a good ratio because that
Yeah.
stuff is very important. So those are my 3 mandatory go-tos besides the protein powder.
Yeah, I'd say you just stole mine. I'd say the only one you didn't say glutamine, right? But
I
I
did
said
not.
BCA powder,
Yeah.
but glutamine just like extra, just because it's going to be good for digestion and recovery and everything. So I think that'd be another one I'd throw in there in that stack. That are all very reasonably priced. I know we keep all those in house for a reason.
Right.
So I mean they're very important. I take them every day. I write them on programs every day. So, but
I
I think
put them on everybody's.
I think that'd be like your go-to stack right there for a beginner for sure. For really anybody, no matter the goal,
Men or
This
women.
this is more tailored to people who want to put on muscle, but I do recommend that even for weight loss people. A lot of those are going to be beneficial in their own way. And obviously we've already touched on this, but weights are going to be extremely beneficial if you want to drop fat. Don't really care who wants to argue on that one. It's going to be extremely beneficial. If I had to pick one or the other, I would pick a weightlifting program and a step goal over actual cardio. That's just my opinion.
And
obviously, cardio is a tool. You know,
Yes.
obviously, all three of them go together very well, and they're going to be used. But if I had to go with one, I would argue weightlifting over cardio. But
I'm
Just my
100%
opinion.
with you on that, and I'm going to add in,
Yeah.
especially for beginners, don't start out with an hour of cardio or an hour and a half every day. Like Cody said, it's a tool and
Yeah.
it needs to be sprinkled in. So 4
Yeah.
to 5 days,
Yeah.
not even that for a beginner. I'd say 3 days.
I try to get away with the least amount
Right.
possible. You know, like
Because
I
you
think
need
I
to-
got you doing what 3 times a week, 4 times a week.
4 times right now.
Yeah, so like I'll try to get away with very minimal, especially if we're gonna be shifting to a prep phase soon.
Right.
I'll actually cut it out before we start prep to give your body a little bit of time to reset and get used to the food that you're consuming with no cardio, and then we add it back in.
Right.
Again, it's a tool. You know, I use it year round just for the health benefits, but I'm not really using it to try to burn a bunch of calories. It's
Right.
just a little bit to kind of get everything going.
So you start out with that overkill, and now you have nowhere to go because you're not going to add another hour. We're not going to do 2 hours of cardio a day. So just start a slower program.
Always get away with the least amount possible, right? So before we go, guys, we just wanted to give you guys a couple announcements, things we got going on here at Carbon. I know we do have the powerlifting event coming up soon in February,
February
right?
10th.
Nate already kind of gave the details there, but just kind of pay attention to our IG page. And then also we got 50% off our apparel, right? Our
Yep,
winter apparel.
Carbon hoodies and
Yeah.
sweatshirts, winter apparels on 50% off.
50% off. And then what was the other one? We had one more, I thought. Or was that the last one?
That was the last
Oh
one.
no, it's memberships, right? So
Yeah.
there's a membership one.
Yep.
I think it's what is it? No activation fee.
No activation fee.
No activation fee right now for New Year resolutioners. So if you want to come into Carbon and check us out, no activation fee. That's a big discount. So, and we have all the supplements in house that we had just talked about. So this would be a great place to come meet one of the trainers too. If you guys do want to,
You got
sign
any
up with one of
questions?
us, that'd be a great way to get a program established. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.